There you go. All right. Hello and welcome to Makers and another Makers Apprenticeships Demo Day. I'm Eddie and I'll be your host for the next 35 to 40 minutes, however long it takes. Today, you'll see 3 awesome projects that were constructed in less than 2 weeks. But it's important that you remember that these developers have actually been with us for 12 weeks. And during that time, they've learned a whole ton of stuff, including test-driven development, object-oriented programming, how the web works, how databases work, how to work in teams, and how to learn new programming languages. And it feels like quite hard work, just even telling you that list of stuff. So imagine what it's been like to go on that journey. In some cases, as like really, really new developers at the beginning, knowing none of that stuff when they started. And they can now all do all of those things. So it's really been a huge honor to like work with these people along the way and provide help where I can and see them all grow. So today, in addition to marveling at their final projects, we're also going to celebrate all of the hard work that they've put in over the preceding 10 weeks before this last 2. So I'm going to keep my bit pretty short and sweet, and that's my intro. So let's get on with the first presentations. We're going to go in this order. We're going to see Team TAHUT, Plantasia, and then Planet. And they all kind of like coalesce around sort of a bit of a theme. They kind of want to help you plan things, I suppose. So some people want to help you plan your lives and make sure that you don't miss your friend's baptism, perhaps. And other people want to help you look after your plants and make sure that you don't miss the watering time of your plants. But you'll see in due course exactly what they've been up to. The first team to present is Team TAHUT. And so I will hand you over to them and we will shortly find out if I have pronounced their team name correctly.
Oh, that's a hard question. Thanks for the introduction, Eddie. I don't really know. So let me grab the screen and go to full screen. Yeah, so TAHUT is like the Egyptian god of calendar. So as Eddie already introduced, we are built on kind of event planner or calendar application. So let me quickly start with a brief introduction of what we did. So we did a Java application that should help you to track your private dates, events, or whatever you want to store in your calendar. But you can also use or create groups and share events with other people, make them visible to them, plan joint activities with this application. Later you can see some more in our demonstration, typical use case, but for example, you could store match days of your favorite soccer team, or in this case, it's an ice hockey team in Cologne, and share it with other friends. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our tech stack that we used. So we used a Postgres database to store all the data. As I've already said, it's a Java application running on Spring Boot. For the testing, we used JUnit. We used Selenium to support us with feature testing, and Maven as a build tool and a way to keep track of our database migrations. On the front-end side, we used Timeleaf to render some HTML or to make the page more dynamic, and some Bootstrap components, HTML and CSS, and all of it like in the model view controller framework or overall concept. So now before we go to the demonstration, some words about how we organized our team. On the right-hand side, you can see our very first brainstorming session where we tried to define how the app should later look like. And also we defined our MVP, did some basic sketches, and then we just translated everything into tickets or user stories and tracked them on Trello board. For the code base, everything was tracked on a GitHub repository. And our daily meeting schedule was basically divided into 2 parts. So the first one was daily stand-up, and then in the afternoon or evening, we had a retrospective, which we also used to merge code that has been worked on during the day. And whenever it was useful for us, we used pairing or even worked as a group of 3 to get things done. All right, now I think we can just start the demonstration, and we'll hand over to Michael. Just give me a second.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, I'll give it a start.
Let's start the demo. Yeah. Okay. So log in as I choose Eddie. Okay. You land on the page where you can see all the events you have created so far for the current month. And as you can see, there are already some events created. They have a date, an author, a title, a start time, and a duration. And you have the possibility to edit or delete events if you are the author of it. I saw that Eddie has already a nice trimmed and groomed beard, so we probably want to delete his barbershop appointment. Let's do this. Yeah, cool. And also I prefer having a beer, or Eddie, with Lisa rather than a breakfast, so let's edit. So we change the title. Another time. It's too early for a beer. And update that, yes. So as you might imagine, it could become slightly overloaded the more events you have. So you might want to switch to a table style view. Here we are. And go back to sticker, yeah. Cool. So as next, I would like show you create an event. Eddie is very much into fishing, yeah. So he plans to have a fishing trip next month. It's the title and a date for next month. A start time. You want to fishing overnight, 12 hours. And for first, we make it to a private entry. Submit. Okay. The new event appears in the correct month and is visible on our event screen. Okay. Now we also want some friends to join the fishing trip. So we create a new group on the Manage Groups page. Okay, cool. And invite some friends. As the owner of a group, I can add friends to the group and see who is already a member of it. And the drop down, you only see users that are not yet part of the group. Yeah, and add, okay. And let's quickly change the sticker visibility to the group by editing it. Back to events. Next month and edit to, yeah, the group and update. Okay, cool. Victor, you have already an account, so please take over for your part.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, let's log in. First, let's check my current events. I think I have nothing scheduled yet for the next couple of months. But I remember Eddie told me he scheduled a fishing trip for us next month. Let's see if we can find it by using events by group. There it is. I can see all groups I'm a member of, those ones created by me or by others, and filter for each individually. Let's use the carousel to switch to the next month. We can see the fishing trip event, which was added by Eddie. It appears now in the month of April. As he is the owner of that event, I cannot edit or delete it, but yeah, the buttons does not appear. Lastly, as this is our final day of the project and the overall Makers journey, I sadly have to leave the Makers Java group. With Manage Groups, I switch to the groups page where all my memberships are shown. On the right side is the possibility to leave a group. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Michael, and thanks, Victor, for the demonstration. And I think we can jump back into the presentation. So it's now our last slide, what we also learned in here, and it's not only about what we built, but also about what we're taking out of it and what learning we have achieved in that time. So just some words about the learning journey through this project, or something that probably did not happen too well. So first point is a non-technical point. We really underestimated how long it takes to set up such a project from scratch. We defined our MVP very ambitiously and thought we might manage that, and then just recognized it took like 2 days full of planning and project setup, so everyone was having an Hello World application running. So we later had to readjust the MVP because we just underestimated the time to getting to code actually. And I think that happened in previous project as well. It's always like you underestimate that. And the other point is that we were not specific enough about one feature that we were to implement. Like, what does a group mean? How should a group be implemented? And later in the project, we just found out that every one of us had different understanding of what it means to be in a group. Does it mean you have access to all the stickers of the others, or does it mean you have just access to the stickers that are posted to the group? So we just had to really redesign our concept about how we wanted to implement it, because we were not specific enough in the very beginning in the planning. Yeah, some technical hurdles that we just had in this project, Bootstrap. You've seen a lot of Bootstrap components in this on the web page. Also, what was new for us was modeling a many-to-many relationship to keep track of membership for each group. That was new for us, and also just building a Spring Boot application from scratch and doing all the setup, because the last project was a legacy code base. And that was one of the technical hurdles to just build it on a greenfield. And I think that was basically all from our side. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask them. And if not, then thanks for your attention.
Well, thank you so much, Team TAHUT. Really lovely presentation and demo. So you can show your appreciation if you choose to, using emojis or writing things in the chat. Feel free to do that. And there is time for 1 or 2 questions if anybody in the audience has a question. Would anybody like to do that? So you can either shout out or put it in the chat.
Hi, my name's Brett. Michael and Victor will smile as they see me pop up onto screen. Hello, chaps. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Brett.
Not just for you. I mean, obviously, primarily for you coming back into my team, but really for everyone else. You've been here in this immersed environment over the past 3 months. You could have gone and learnt stuff elsewhere in a normal way. What do you think is the real benefit that you have received going into the makers process, and how do you think that you will be able to bring this back into Ford to accelerate the PDO teams that you are going into to drive the solutions under the Ford Plus plan?
I think a big benefit was to do it with others and see how people are growing together and help each other and achieving things which you thought in the beginning will be very hard, which it was, but in between. But yeah, see the different people, how we are growing step by step was a great journey. And yeah, that's my point. That's it.
Thanks. Anyone else? It doesn't have to be limited to Victor and Michael, by the way.
So from my side, so I'm also Michael, by the way, but I guess not from your team. So yeah, I think it's really like that we had to find out things all on our own, or a lot on our own. So we we just did not really learn something by being taught some stuff, but yeah, being able to find out things our own, what we needed, and also to filter of what is important and what might not be too important.
Anyone else? Sorry, I know I'm scary, but you know. If not, I have a follow-up question. I mean, people will go into these type of these processes with an expectation or a, you know, going and going, oh, I'm going off to Makers for 3 months. When you reflect back, coming back out of the end of the process, is that still the same in terms of your thoughts around this process? How would you communicate it to others within Ford as an organization to say, you know, is it valuable? This is what you will learn. This is what you will feel going in, but this is the experience and how you will come out the other side.
For my part, it was definitely valuable, and I recommend it to others also to do that course. It is a big experience where you move through several steps and yeah, achieve things which you might thought in the beginning which are not possible in that way or so fast, and it helps you to grow and to learn more about yourself, also the EQ part, and yeah, learn to learn, as it was mentioned in the chat, and it's definitely a good journey.
Cool, thank you. Really great questions and some really lovely answers. Thank you everyone. Alex Wood put a couple of answers in the chat. He said that collaboration is key and that the most valuable thing is that they've learned how to learn. So thanks, Alex, for those contributions too. All right, so let's move on. The next team is Team Plantasia, who are going to help you and me stop killing our plants. My personal strategy with plants, although it's not really a conscious strategy, is that basically anytime I buy a plant, I don't water it for at least a month. And there's this kind of selection process that happens. So if it survives, then it's fine, it can stay. And if it dies, then obviously it goes out. So I can only cope with plants that basically almost never need watering, and I've got a few of those. But maybe Plantasia will help me broaden my horizons and learn to look after some plants that are a bit more delicate. So Team Plantasia, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. That's quite a brutal selection process that you've got going there. Hi everyone, and welcome to Plantasia. Like Eddie said, it's the app that's going to hopefully help you to not kill your plants. Can you all see my screen, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So firstly, I'm going to talk you through some of our organization, the tech stack that we used, and also some user research that we did before we went on to develop the app. Justine's then going to talk to you about what Plantasia is and give you a little demo, and also talk about some blockers that we encountered along the way. And then finally, Julia's going to talk you through our retrospective, so things that we learned and extra features that we would incorporate if we had a bit more time. So let's move on to the first phase, which is naturally the germination phase. So in terms of organization, the first thing that we did was we got together on Miro, and we had a big brainstorming session and generated loads of ideas for features that we could incorporate. Other technology that we used we used Trello for all of our ticketing and to communicate which jobs we were working on. And naturally, because we're remote working, we use Zoom for all of our stand-ups, our daily stand-ups, and our mobbing sessions and pairing sessions. When we look at the tech stack, Plantasia is a Node.js application that we developed in the Express framework, and we use testing frameworks such as Cypress and Jest to help with the development of it. But we also use some cloud-based services. So we used MongoDB Atlas, which was our cloud-based database, and we deployed the app to Heroku so that other users other than ourselves could use the app. Now, the first thing that we did was we went out and we asked people online, of course, in a form, what do you care about most when you're looking for plants? And these are the results. So a lot of people care about the appearance and the care requirements of their plants. And quite a majority care about how compatible the plant is with their pet and some of the practical benefits of the plant. So whether it's air purifying, for example. And we use this data going forward to tailor the content that our users would see. So I'm going to pass over to Justine, who's going to give you a little demo of our application.
Our mission at Plantasia is to stop you from killing your plants. We know it happens, but we want to reduce how often it does. And how we do this is by providing you with features to better care for your plants. These features include giving you all the information upfront about how to take care of your plants, access to your local weather conditions, giving you access to our plant doctor, and lastly, showing you where your local community garden is. This is our homepage, and at the bottom you can see tailored advertisements all surrounding plants. So you can buy a pot, you can see where your nearest florists are, and other features. As a user, I can log into Plantasia if I have an existing account. If not, I can sign up for a new account. As I already have one, I'm just going to log in. Once I do so, I can see all the plants that are available for purchase on Plantasia. And if I click on View Details, I can get a bit more information about that plant, such as its scientific name, its sunlight needs, its watering needs, and whether it's toxic to animals. I can then choose to buy a plant. This is the first feature that we have in place to stop you from killing your plants. So before you can buy a plant, we just want to check that you actually know how to take care of it. So we ask you a short quiz about what soil conditions need to be maintained for the plant, and also the sunlight needs. If you get this correct, we're happy to sell you a plant. If not, we'll be happy to assist you in finding a plant that better suits your caring abilities. This user correctly filled out the quiz so they can buy a plant. Our next feature is that we give you your local weather conditions. The idea here is that you put in your postcode, and we want to stop you from getting a plant which doesn't suit your environment. So if you're in London, probably a tropical rainforest plant won't suit. So we want you to be fully informed upfront about what's just not going to survive for environmental reasons. So as you can see, you can get the average temperature in your postal code, the average humidity, and the average sunshine. So this postal code has 76 hours of sunshine a month, which isn't a lot, but this can help inform the plant that you want to pick. So then you can pick your plant, and now you can tailor it to your caring abilities. So as we're in the UK, we'll say part shade to full shade. We'll say that we want to water it regularly, so a medium amount. We'd love some flowers indoors to cheer up the grey days. And ideally, we don't want it to kill our pets because we kind of like them. And then if we submit, you can see plants that completely fit you as a person. Then you can click on Get More Info. And then again, you can see all the details, decide if you want to buy the plant, but if not, you can add it to your wish list. So you can return to it at a later date. Our next feature is that of the plant doctor. So sometimes, despite our best efforts, where we water our plants, we put them in the sun, they still die. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. But we have an in-house plant doctor to help you in these tough times. So if you start scrolling, we'll talk you through the pain of having your plant not be in great condition. We'll give you a recommendation for a Spotify playlist, which is all curated for plants. And lastly, we'll allow you to fill out a form. So we ask you for your name, your email, and the plant type. And lastly, the description of what's not going right. So it could be mossy, it could just be not looking great. And then our plant doctor will get back to you with their expert advice. Our last feature is for the less green-fingered or those who don't have the time or space to take care of plants. We'll show you where your nearest community garden is. The idea behind this is that you can then benefit from someone else's green fingers. You can build gardens together and make our cities more green. By default, we set your location to be the City of London. And those orange points are the communal gardens in the city or around the city. And if you're interested in getting directions from your home directly, you can put in your postal code, you can submit, and then we will give you instructions about how to get to these communal gardens from your home. These are up here on the left, and they're set to people who are driving. So whilst building this project, we encountered lots of blockers, but the main two were the project setup and finding an appropriate data set. Typically at Makers so far, we had a legacy code base from which we built features on. So this was the first time that we set up a project from scratch. And 3 days into our project, we had this awful issue, as you can see, where we had duplicate folders, one in uppercase and one in lowercase. It was an absolute nightmare. We ended up having to fork our GitHub repository, manually change all the files and do a git pull, but we lost an entire afternoon trying to figure this out. And we were quite angry at the end. Our second blocker was finding a data set that met our needs. So when we were looking for a data set, we wanted ideally one that already included pictures of plants, had some interesting characteristics on plants, and also had enough plants that would make our website interesting. What we found is that often one of these things was missing. So in the end, we opted for a data set that had images of plants included, some interesting characteristics such as the soil pH and other things, but it didn't have many plants on it, which was the one drawback. I'm now going to pass you to Julia, who's going to talk you through the learnings and the additional features we would have liked to include.
Julia, you're on mute.
Thank you, Justine, for this beautiful presentation. What we learned in our so excited journey, as mentioned on our previous slide, we had quite a few blockers and let's say new opportunities to learn. To name a few, project planning, MVP, diagram, team organization, team interaction, workflow, building a project from scratch, learning and implementing new technologies, testing, coding debug, error message encountered. Our journey was full of excited, countless learning opportunities and blockers as well. How excited it was to think of a feature or a functionality and then go above and beyond to learn how to get integrated and tested. Now we're going to mention a few things that we wish we could have more time to develop, but so far our website looks beautiful. Extra features we would like to include if we had more time. Machine learn feature. Upgrade plants doctor so our users can take a picture of the plants and we can tell how healthy it is. The calendar feature, users can log in and set reminders for when to water their plants or give them extra sunlight. Community feature, users can list plants that they don't want anymore, which can be bought, traded by other members of the community. Ed, please don't kill your plant. Visit our website. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Oh, amazing. Really, really lovely projects and lovely presentation. So well done. Please show your appreciation, people in the chat or with your emojis. I actually have a question or a feature request myself, actually. So my cat really loves eating plants. And so what I want to know is like which plants don't taste good to the cat. That's what it, so you need to do some like taste testing or something, get all the non-toxic plants and see which ones the cats don't want to eat. How about
that will be our next user research thing. We'll get on that.
I think we need to borrow your cat though, Eddie.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. You can borrow him.
Just make sure you buy one that is not toxic for children and your pet.
Yeah. Yeah, really lovely application. I've got time for a couple of questions if there are any.
It's not really a question. It's more of a thing. You need to patent that and get that into production. I'd love that, right? Out in real life. That's really cool. I really like it. It's, you know, that idea of, oh, I'm not very good at this stuff, I'm not very green fingered, it's quite a cool service. So maybe it's a thing on the side for you all. Shouldn't say that. No, sorry. But yeah, really nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I've got to jump. I've got pressing business issues I need to deal with, but great job, everybody. And thank you for allowing me to attend and look at the 2 projects so far. So thank you.
Thanks for coming along. Cool. Yeah, really lovely work. Any other questions from the audience or any other comments?
Did you learn enough about plants, Johnny, that you're going to try and buy some more? Because this was all for you, really, right? You can't keep your plants alive, so you're going to buy some.
I have total faith in Plantasia. Yeah.
Okay.
It feels a bit like a sort of like a matchmaking service, doesn't it? Where you're asked if you know about these questions about the plant you want to buy, and if you don't get them right, the plant kind of rejects you.
The plant has a choice in this website.
Yeah. Cool. All right, folks. Really well done. Let's move on to the third and final presentation. So, I don't know about you, but sometimes I look at my diary and seems like you know, like events have like sprung up from nowhere. I don't know who the person is that's invited me to do this thing, or what it's about, or what I'm supposed to do there, or how I'm going to manage to do all these things in my day. And it would be really interesting sometimes to be able to trace these events back to their origins, which might be some kind of big bang event that just spews events out into my calendar. And so I think this next team is going to help us do that. They are Team Planet.
That was an amazing introduction. Thank you. I'm just going to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Can you see that?
Yes, thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Planet. Planet is the fun family planning calendar for adults and kids. The idea for the project came from us as parents knowing it can be hard to arrange childcare and plans within our family units. We started with the idea of a family calendar. After discussing, we decided we wanted this to be a fun and interactive application for all the family to enjoy. Our ideas included features like birthday wish lists for the kids and adults being able to allocate themselves to gifts, daily quizzes with a monthly leaderboard for your galaxy to get the kids involved, and a separate function to allow to allocate for childcare. In Planet, we have created a space for parents, co-parents, families and friends to plan and share your world with the people in your galaxies. Planet will help users to be able to plan in those appointments, days out and holidays by easily being able to view all plans within your chosen galaxy. The app is able to plan childcare for after school and around the school holidays. For any personal plans, these can be updated into your very own My Planet calendar, meaning you can have all your private and shareable events in one place. Over to Alex for a demo.
Lovely. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration here. This is obviously some information about the tech that we use, very similar to some of the other projects. We're going to start here on our sign up page that just has a bit of information that you need when you sign up. Obviously, this is now frozen. Why is that? Brilliant. Are we working now? Excellent. I'm going to pull this from elsewhere just so you can see it. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Lovely. Okay. Hopefully this will work. So we start on our sign up page. This is where you can enter your information, and then we'll log in so we can see our own personal calendar for this user. The colours are different there because they have events on that day. Those events are also shared with others in their galaxy, which is a list here of all of the events within their current galaxy. But also to help them see that, we can see the calendar for the whole galaxy as well, and they will all show up on a joint calendar. If we log in as another member of the same galaxy, you'll see that is also now frozen.
No, the video is just 36 seconds.
I don't know why this is freezing. I know Jackie had access to this. I don't know whether you want to share your screen, Jackie.
Yep, hold on one sec. Let me pick this up.
Apologies.
No worries, no worries.
Okay, one sec. Okay. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep, all good.
I think it is going through, just going through what Alex has just spoke about.
Okay, yeah, so you can see there we've logged in as another user. You can see that the events are coloured differently because they're their own personal events. So they're slightly different days, and on their Galaxy page, you can see all the events on that page. If we were to sign up as a new user in that same Galaxy, which we're going to do now, so it's showing up quite small there. Sign up, this is the new event, so you can create a new event straight from the calendar that will drop straight into the calendar. As a member of this Galaxy, this will show up on your own personal calendar as well as their Galaxy calendar, which is shown there, showing up on their own calendar and also showing up on their Galaxy calendar as well. It's been added to both, so you can see both, and they'll both be added to the event list. If we sign up as a new user for the same Galaxy, which we're doing here, this is our sign up page. This started quite simple, but became more complex as we added more functionality to the process. I think I'm signing up as Rosie here. We're just filling out all our information. The thing you can't see there is the initials, which will show up as an avatar in the top right. You can also choose your own personal colour for the calendar down at the bottom there. I believe I stuck with black for this one. And when you log in as this new user, they've joined the same Galaxy as the last two users, but obviously they'll have their own personal calendar, which when they first log in will be completely empty because they haven't planned any events. But they know that there's already events planned within their Galaxy, which are now showing up on their Galaxy calendar. The last thing I'll show you here is some information from the database itself. It just shows where the information sits within our database. One thing we wanted to talk about a little bit further, if we'd had a bit more time, is the security. So at the moment, if anybody accesses this database, they can see all of the details. So we were looking as a next step to add some encryption to the details within that database. Obviously, didn't quite get that far, but that is our website and that's how it works.
Thanks, Alex. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our learning process. So there's some things that I think went really well. So we come up with our concept, the name and the theme pretty quickly, and we had an abundance of ideas. We were maybe a little bit too optimistic with how much we could get done in the 9 days. We added our tasks to the Trello board and we added them to a high and low priority columns. We then picked them up when we began working on each one, so there was no crossover of work. We were really good at making sure that our efforts weren't doubled and that we always knew what we were all working on. We also learned a lot. So we learned a lot about APIs and the way they interact between the front and back end. We learned about setting a project up from scratch with no guidance. As others have said, we were used to working on sort of legacy code bases, and we all gained a much deeper understanding of JavaScript. We had a lot of sort of moments, like aha moments, where we suddenly realized how something worked or why it was doing something. And we also had fun sometimes. And you can see on the next slide here the evolution of our website and how it developed, sort of from an initial idea to progressing at each stage. There were some things that we would have done a little differently in retrospect. So we would have benefited from doing a little bit more research and planning around our actual sort of file structure and the setup, as we discovered later on that there would have been easier ways to do some of the things we had done. It's also been ingrained in us to diagram and create domain models, but we didn't do a lot of this. And in retrospect, we would have really benefited from that. We also unanimously decided that we wanted to use PSQL for our database. Within a couple of days, we unanimously regretted our decision, as we'd not actually used it alongside JavaScript before. So we had to spend a little bit of extra time getting our head around the files and how to inject data into the app using JavaScript. So although we used the Trello board, we didn't actually schedule many meetings. We sort of done a lot of it on as we went and just setting meetings up. So I think we would have probably benefited from spending a little bit more time changing and evaluating the workload as we went. In week one, we all picked up our own bits to work on. We then found that when it comes to picking up more complex work as it went on, it was difficult for us to understand what was happening in other files and what exactly we'd all been doing. So it required a little bit of extra toing and froing just to make sure that we didn't break something somebody else had implemented. We learned from this, and in week two, I think we worked really much more better closely together, and it just felt much easier and like we had a better understanding of what everything was doing. We didn't stick to TDD as much as we would have liked. We would have liked to write some more tests, and I think they would have made it easier and quicker to fix things when they went wrong. We would have also loved to get a few more things added from our nice to have column, but overall we're really proud of what we managed to achieve for our first project, building a website completely from scratch with no legacy code base, and we've really enjoyed ourselves. That's it.
Amazing. Lovely projects and a really fantastic presentation. Thank you so much. Again, feel free to show your appreciation somehow with an emoji or with a comment or both. Yeah, really nice work, folks. Are there any questions for this third and final team? Just waiting to see if anything pops up in the chat. What was your favorite part of building this? Asks Zoe.
Oh, go on, you go first, Alex.
So I think the building of the physical calendar itself was my favorite part, because again, that was totally from scratch, from the ground up. Looking a lot of inspiration elsewhere, but doing it ourselves. It just felt like a really good learning process with something really exciting that came out of the other end. It's good to have something to show for when you've learned something that much.
I think for me, it was sort of towards the end of the project when everything started coming together, because there was a lot of sort of early on, like, oh, this isn't working properly, and that's not doing what we want it to. And actually a lot of things, as one thing started to work, they all sort of slotted in. And everything, become much nicer. And actually, it's quite nice to look back at, like we say, we built this from scratch, and it's actually quite interesting to look back at all the files and all of it and just see exactly how much we have actually done, which you don't necessarily get to see from,
Ian had a similar question, which I missed, unfortunately. Sorry, Ian. He asked, what have you enjoyed the most? And so maybe we could slightly rephrase this and ask you, what did you enjoy the most over the entire 12-week period?
That is a big question.
I actually really enjoyed, not that I didn't enjoy this project too, but I actually really enjoyed our previous project, the Acebook project, because it was working on a legacy code base, going in, having to understand things that you hadn't had any input in, having to work out how things were working. And I think for me, that sort of made me think that that was likely to be what we'd actually be doing when we work. So we'll be sort of working on a lot of existing stuff. So I found that really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, I think my favourite part was always the aha moment, as Rosie mentioned earlier. I had a lot of them, and I still remember my very first one from the very first week when we were doing some practice with Ruby, and again it was running a test, and when that test passed, that was my first aha moment.
Nice.
I can see Joe's asked as well about how we changed the way we worked in the second week. So I think we did spend more time looking at the Trello board. We also sort of had discussions around if we were picking up tickets that maybe might overlap, that it might be worth pairing on them. And we just had a lot more meetings where when we had implemented something, rather than one of us just going on and having a look at it and merging it, we actually would show, we not only demo the website working, but we demo the code and say, I've done this and it's pulling that information from here. Because sometimes we found the week before looking at it, obviously you end up with a lot of words the same in a lot of files and you're like, where's it getting that from? So yeah, we made sure that we explained that to one another, so we had a much better understanding.
Nice answer. Cool. Your answer, Alex, made me realize there was another sort of strand to my answer to Zoe's question right at the beginning, where she was asking about remote learning. And I think you know, one other thing that we all miss out on a bit is like seeing each other celebrate when we have when someone has an aha moment. You know, you get this like rush of energy, don't you? And maybe you like do a little happy dance or something, but maybe you're on a Zoom call with a couple of other people, but otherwise nobody else gets to see you do that. And so maybe that makes you dance a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe you feel more confident dancing when it's just Rosie and Jackie that can see you doing it, or whoever. But I would like to see those celebrations too sometimes.
I personally developed a fist pump. That's my one, the fist bump.
I've made my dog jump a few times when I've got something working, and I like scream, and my dog thinks that something's happened, and I'm like, oh no, it's a good thing. He doesn't understand that.
Oh.
But yeah.
Cool. All right, folks. Well, first of all, like really well done to everyone in the cohort. You've been really amazing, and it's been a huge pleasure to work with you. And you know, I extend that to the people that are now doing DevOps as well. So for those of you who don't realize, the cohort was originally a bit bigger at the start, and then they kind of you know, split off into two different groups. One group is now learning about DevOps, and the other group was stuck with me. So to the whole group of you that were part of the same cohort, really well done. I think like sometimes you notice as a coach that you know, a cohort has some particular characteristics that make it unique and different as a group. And I think one of the really cool things about this group is that I think every time you've come up against a challenge, you've kind of, you know, reflected on the challenge and thought about what you can do to overcome it. And sometimes it's a, you know, a real like programming challenge, and other times it might be because like I did something a bit wrong, or like something was a bit broken in the materials. But at every point, regardless of the source of the challenge, you've sought to overcome it yourself, rather than you know, kind of you know, getting upset basically and angry at life, or angry at me or something like that. Even perhaps sometimes when it might have been justifiable. So I think that kind of that sort of determination and resilience and independence that you've shown is going to do you really brilliantly. And soon enough, your colleagues next week and the week after and the week after that will see you do that and appreciate that really a lot. So really well done. I will see some of you in 30 minutes or so to reflect on the whole course. And everyone else, thanks for coming along this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed the presentations, and I wish you all the best. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.